The Orlando housing correction is probably something you've been hearing about a lot lately if you like to watch Orlando real estate videos. But what exactly is a housing correction, and what does that mean for Orlando? Let me know in the comments what you think about the housing correction in Orlando. First, let's define what a housing correction is, and then we'll talk about the current market conditions and make some predictions. Then we can better understand exactly what a housing correction is and what that means for Orlando specifically. A real estate correction is a relatively minor drop in the market. The market is in correction territory when the home price index falls not more than 10% from the highest price within a year. Corrections happen with greater frequency than you might expect and are generally good for balancing market demand. Now, on the other hand, a real estate crash is much less common than the media would have you think. When the home price index falls by more than 10% from the 52-week peak value, you're experiencing a crash. I think it's important to point out that if we do experience a recession, which most economists believe we will in the very near future, that could cause a housing crash. Maybe not the same as we experienced in 2008, but a housing crash nevertheless. I think it's something like 9 out of the past 11 recessions have also had a housing crash. Now let's go over what the housing price index is. It's a broad measure of the movement of single-family house prices in the United States. It's published by the Federal Housing Finance Agency using monthly and quarterly data supplied by Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. Now we'll check out the housing price index, and this is specifically for the Orlando metro area. And we can see that obviously we're in a pretty major incline here. Now, as of note, this only goes to the first quarter of 2022. I think the second quarter and probably third quarter, once all that data comes out, I think we'll see that maybe we're still increasing, but not as such a rapid pace as we were. And here is the housing inventory according to the index as well. And so you can see that inventory is rising here in the Orlando metro area. With the inventory rising, you would think that that would mean less demand, so the housing prices are going to go down. However, we haven't seen the median home price take a significant downturn. It's still on the rise in most areas of Orlando. If you want to know what the prices are currently, I have a link in the description of my preferred properties for sale. What do you think about the Orlando housing market? Is there a correction on the way? Let us know in the comments. If you're enjoying the video so far, please hit the like button. It really helps me out, and consider subscribing if you haven't already. If you are a subscriber, I really appreciate your support. Here's an article that came out recently, and there's a quote from an economist, Mark Zandi, and it says, "The housing market has peaked. Everything points to a rolling over of the housing market. In terms of home sales, they're falling sharply. Housing demand is coming down fast. Home price growth will go flat here pretty quickly. We'll see home price declines in a significant number of markets." And I think something that's interesting about the article is not all markets are seeing decreases in sales and prices, but there will be a significant amount of markets that will see the decrease. If your Google feed is anything like mine, it's always saying, hey, the housing market is slowing down, it's cooling off, it's a buyer's market. And then I have people reaching out to me, saying, hey, it should be pretty easy for me to buy a home here in Orlando, right? It's a buyer's market now. And that's not necessarily the case. Each market is different, and real estate is not one size fits all. In Orlando, even, we have some pockets that we are seeing some slowdown and even decreases. And then there are other pockets of Orlando where it's still busy and wild. Then the article goes on to say, unlike a stock market correction, which means a greater than 10% drop in equities, Zandi says a housing correction means the end of the housing boom and the beginning of a period where home prices will fall in some regional markets. Over the coming 12 months, he expects a year-over-year home price growth to be 0%. So I think what he's saying makes a lot of sense. I think, obviously we've been growing at a major pace, and how long can we keep going? Hopefully not much longer. And so with that becomes a correction. Now let's take a look at this map. It says the degree to which regional home prices are overvalued or undervalued according to Moody's Analytics. And so you can find us down here in Orlando. And so we're rated at 24%. So we're overvalued at 24%, not as much as some, but still a significant amount. What does this mean for Orlando? Although inventory is rising, prices are still rising in Orlando, just not as fast as they were before. I think we can expect the housing market to slow down even more within the next year. I'm guessing housing prices will slow down for about the next 5 years. I'm thinking we won't see any huge price jumps and the price of homes may appreciate less than average, which is typically around 3 to 5% a year. If there's a recession, the median home price could decrease. Is a housing correction coming to Orlando? I hope so, right? We can't keep going like this crazy for this long. So real estate is extremely hyper local. So I've seen some places in the Orlando metro area where we're starting to see signs of a correction. Places like Osceola County, Lakeland, Deltona, DeBary. I've seen the median home price drop in those areas or at least slow down pretty significantly. I've talked to real estate agents in different parts of the country, and most of them are starting to see the market shift in a way where they're thinking they'll be in a buyer's market relatively soon. I'm not seeing that quite yet for Orlando, but I do see things starting to slow down a bit. I think the Orlando housing market will start to return to its pre-pandemic numbers. But even pre-pandemic, we were still in what would be considered a seller's market. That looked like, 3 to 4 months of inventory. You still had multiple offers on houses, but it was maybe 3 to 6 offers, and maybe one of or two of them weren't even like in the hemisphere, right? And we weren't having things like appraisal contingencies being waived, inspections being waived, all that kind of stuff. That wasn't really the case. And so I think we are going to start to see, maybe not necessarily a buyer's market, but the market is going to be a little bit more favorable for buyers. At the peak here in Orlando, it's like you had to do anything possible to get a house. I mean, I had one client who was like, hey, I could offer someone like a trip to Italy. Like, would they be interested in that? I mean, and you were hearing all kinds of stuff like that. But now it is slowing down a bit. We're not seeing that as much. And unfortunately, no trips to Italy for sellers. If you are thinking of buying a home in the near future, I would suggest not paying over the appraised value like people were doing without thinking a few months ago. With homes potentially not appreciating as quickly as they have been within the past 2 years, I think it's time to come back to reality a little bit. Buyers are adjusting to that mentality quicker than sellers. That's why we've been seeing an uptick in price reductions, although the price reductions haven't made the overall median home price drop in Orlando yet. In summary, prepare for a correction. We may not see as a significant correction as others, but I definitely think our housing market here in Orlando is due for a slowdown. We may not see the correction in the median home price dropping significantly, but I think we will see a correction in how much buyers are willing to pay for a property, the condition of the home, and other factors like assuming a solar panel loan, things like that. Buyers just aren't as willing to bend over backwards for sellers anymore. For more videos like this, check out this playlist or this playlist that talks about different parts of Orlando. Reach out to me if you have any questions. My contact information is in the description below. Thanks for watching.